and then I'm shaking them up and down. Hello, everyone. Look at us today. We're standing. George, why are we standing today?
Isn't this great? It's nice to be able to move around a little bit during this show for a change.
Nice.
Usually we're kind of locked in our desk.
Welcome to Live at Epiphan. Today, we're going to be talking about how to stream a fitness class. And for that, we actually stood up and we're going to be doing stuff. But first, we'd like to welcome everyone who is in chat. We can't see you just yet because I'm so far away from my computer right now. But we're going to give you shout outs as soon as we see you. George, how are you feeling today?
I feel great. I'm ready to warm up a little bit. I think this is going to be fun. And we're going to tell everybody, of course, how they can recreate a great looking live streaming setup or conferencing setup for that matter for their fitness classes. I know my wife is doing this in this very room. She's been doing yoga classes over Zoom. And so obviously a pretty popular topic right now. So hopefully we can help you out.
That's right. Well, let's get warmed up a little bit. We're going to do a little warm up. Can't go into this cold. And for that, we're going to need the help of our friends. We're going to invite a few friends on our stream. All right, you guys ready? I hope you're doing this with us at home because this is going to be great.
Yeah,
all right,
like
so
let's
start.
2 minutes.
What's that?
It's only going to be like a minute, right? A little quick 1 minute workout.
Just it's going to be really quick. Everyone's going to be able to do this. Even if you're sitting down, you can still do this. All right, so we're going to start really, really easy. This is all our friends from Epiphan, the marketing department. Let's start with the head, okay? So we're just going to do this, right? So just head, left and right. See, everyone can do it, even if they're sitting down. Yeah, come on. Awesome. We're going to kind of rotate our head around and around and just stretch it out. We know you've been sitting the entire day. Let's do some hands. Yes, I know this looks really weird. I saw it on camera the other day. Looks so strange. Just wave your arms around in the air. There we go. Full circles, back and forth. Hear that music? That's my friend Ashot. He made this for us. I love this tune. All right, now we're just gonna spin around like this. Engage that core. I'm not a fitness instructor, but I think I would be a pretty great one. Okay, we're gonna just lean back and forth, and we're gonna reach left and right, and then you're gonna reach all the way, reach even more to the side. There we go. Yes, you guys are doing great. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna reach up and then down, and then up again. Touch your toes. Even if you're sitting, touch your toes. No, please don't break anything. 1, 2, 3, reach. Awesome. Okay, guys, now I just want you to do some jumping jacks. Here we go, jumping jacks. Yes, come on, George. George, how are you feeling?
I feel great. This is good. How do I sound?
Sound great. Okay, and now we're just gonna go crazy. We're gonna dance, and we're gonna do whatever we want because this is our fitness class. Woo!
That's right.
Okay.
Never had so much room.
Awesome. Woo!
Thanks, Marta.
Right. That was awesome. Now we're actually going to sit down. I don't want to, but I think we're going to have to sit down for this part. Whew. Okay. Whew. I feel warm. How about you, George?
I feel warm. I told you my air conditioning is broken, so yeah, a little warm, but I feel good. Thanks for that.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much, Ashot, for that tune. That was awesome. I hope you guys felt the energy too. Yes, that's my musician friend. All right, let's check out. George, tell us about YouTube. Who do we have in here? I don't have it open right now.
Well, I just tuned in here, and it's nice to see some friendly faces. We have Linda and Tim and Kim all saying hi in the chat, and some other people watching as well. So be sure to put any questions or comments you have during the program into the YouTube chat or the Facebook chat, and we'll answer your questions as we go. So nice to see everybody here.
Awesome. So they can hear us okay, they can see us okay, we're looking good, yeah?
I think so. Even so much is that my wife is telling me to shut the door because I think I'm being a little too loud in here on this broadcast.
Well, this is a fitness class. You're supposed to get that energy up and going.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, let's tell the people how this is done. We're going to talk about the gear that you need to make a fitness class happen. Yeah, we actually have the next slide for that with all the things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about the setup, the various streaming setups, the streaming destinations where you can stream. So you can stream to YouTube or Facebook or other CDNs, or you can go live to Zoom to do Zoom classes. We're going to talk a little bit about that too. And we're going to talk about how to add, the extras, things like overlays, and like if you want a list of exercises or a countdown timer, all of that we're going to show you how to do. Now, we're not really going to talk about a phone setup, right? So streaming from your phone, we're not really going to talk about that. We're going to talk about kind of more advanced setups, camera, dedicated microphone, all of that. Awesome. Okay, so shall we just jump into it, George?
Sure. So let's start with the most basic thing. Well, actually, maybe Marta, before we jump into the gear, what kind of setup are we talking about here? You said it's not a phone, so what kind of setup is it?
Right. So we're going to talk about using a professional camera on a tripod with a good microphone, with a wireless microphone, essentially, and using either a computer to stream out to destinations or using a hardware encoder as well. So we're just going to talk about that professional setup, making it look a lot better than just using your phone.
Awesome. Okay. That sounds great. So I guess the first thing we want to talk about are the cameras, right? What kind of cameras we can use for this?
That's right. Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead, George.
Yeah. So, well, you can see, I can tell you a little bit about what I have set up in this room here. So I'm in my living room here, and I have a Canon RP. It's a full frame DSLR, mirrorless camera. This is likely overkill for most people because it's a professional camera with really expensive lenses on it. But it does make for a really nice looking image. So that's always my go-to, is a nice mirrorless camera with a great image on it. But I have a few other cameras here that I think might be well suited for people just looking for something to get started with beyond their webcam. So you probably understand how to do this with your webcam or your phone, as Marta was saying. But if you want to look really good and you want to sound good, you're going to need some better equipment. So I've got a few things left over here. So I'll show you some examples.
Awesome. Show us, George. Yeah, your picture does look amazing. By the way,
it does. It's a really nice camera, and it lets me do that. So something like for a basic setup, you might just start with a camcorder. This is a Canon Vixia R80. I'll get right up here so you can see it, and it's kind of what you're using, right, Marta? Oh, you have one of these.
I'm actually I'm using a PTZ camera, but I'll get to that. But as you say, the most basic thing that you can use is a camcorder. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that, George. What is that going to look like?
So we always talk about what kind of cameras make a good streaming camera, and that's basically any camera that has clean HDMI input from it, which means when you plug an HDMI cable into it and then you plug the other end into your television, for that matter, you don't see all the display information like the menu items and the histographs and the other kind of controls that you see on your camera. So you want to make sure it's nice clean image. That's generally, then you're good to go for most modern cameras. Older cameras, there's all kinds of wacky hiccups that you're going to run into. But if you have a camera that's, I don't know, less than 5 years old, that has clean HDMI out, I think you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. And so a camcorder is a great place to start because it's really easy to operate and you don't have to be a camera person to understand how to make it look okay. But it's only ever going to look okay. So that's, I guess, the limitation of the camcorder. Another interesting camera. Well, this is the one I was trying to set it up earlier, but I didn't have quite what I needed to set it up properly. This is what you're using today, right, Marta? A PTZ camera?
Exactly.
So you'd see these used commonly in your fitness studio, perhaps, where you really want control over the panning, tilting, and zooming. So maybe this is mounted up high in the corner of your studio, and it allows some kind of an operator or producer to zoom in on what they want to see. And you can set presets so you can quickly just adjust from one look to another, one shot to another shot. And another nice feature for a camera like this is they have tracking capabilities, which means when I move around the room, the camera would follow me wherever I'm going. And you don't see this very often in a fitness class, but it's a pretty great application. Where you do see it is in situations like a lecture capture environment, where you have a professor who's madly walking around the room and the camera tracks their every move. So a tracking camera for a fitness class, I think it'd be a great idea. It does come with some investment though. I mean, I don't know what the MSRP of this is, but it's more than $1,000, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, please, moderators. But anyway, these are two options that I was thinking about that might be fun for people to get started with. But you could use any camera you have, really. The GoPro would be fine to get started with. If you have a mirrorless camera like Marta, I know you have a DSLR that you could probably pull out if you needed to. It's maybe a little too long in a tooth, but anyway.
Right.
What else do we need to tell people about cameras? I'm sure I've missed a few points.
I just wanted to mention that I am using the AVer camera, not sponsored, but I'm just using this PTZ AVer camera. And George, you're right, they are pretty expensive. They cost about $1,500. So this is an investment. If you do have a studio, access to a studio, and if you know that you're going to be using it a lot, then you can make that investment. You can consider it because that tracking capability is really, really cool. However, for a much more simple setup, try the camera that you already have. Check if it has those things that make it a good camera for live streaming. As George mentioned, clean HDMI out, doesn't shut off after 20 minutes. We actually have a really good article about that, and I'm going to ask our moderators to throw it into chat. We talk about the 19 best cameras for live streaming, and a part of that article talks about what makes for a good streaming camera, right? So be sure to check that out. And yeah, George, as you said, just try things out, right? See what camera you have. If you have a webcam, just get started with that. You're gonna see what that looks like. Compare it to a camcorder. Just compare stuff if you have access to it. Obviously, don't invest into it right away. See what works for you. They're all. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you made me think of another thing that you're going to have to invest in right away, which you really can't skimp on, or you'll run into trouble. Is a decent way to mount this camera or a tripod.
That's right.
We learned this the hard way by setting up in some fitness studios, trying to capture people. Looked great. All of our tests. Remember how good those tests looked?
Looked
amazing.
Because no one was jumping around.
All these instructors start jumping up and down and doing what instructors do, and they're full of energy. That camera shakes like crazy, so you better make sure it's mounted well.
Exactly. So mounting it to a ceiling is a really good idea if there's a lot of activity, but using something sturdy, at least a tripod, is really important. Yeah. And another pro tip is find a camera with wide lens or use a wide lens, because, for example, the trouble that I ran into with this camera, with this particular camcorder, is that I have to be really far away for it to be able to capture my entire height. With the PTZ camera, it's much easier because the angle is so wide. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, I'm going to put this back here. Okay. Oh, and another tip, mind your camera level. So if you're doing yoga, you probably want your camera just a little bit lower. If you're doing full body activity, your camera is going to have to be a little bit higher. Something to keep in mind. Okay, so that's the camera part. Let's jump into the microphone part. So we're going to talk about the mics that we have on today. And we're going to mention a few options. Depending on your budget, you can see what you like. It can vary from $30 all the way to $500. So I'm using a wireless kind of over-ear mic today. Looks like this. It's the Bietrun WXM01. It costs $30. It sounds like this. It has a little 3.5 millimeter dongle, and it works over Bluetooth. It does have to be charged, and it says that it's going to work for about 6 hours. I cannot say that I've tested this, but that's what it says. And it has a 50-meter range. So I think for $30, that's pretty good.
Now, I wouldn't want to test that 50-meter range. I suspect it's probably a 15-meter range. But for $30, I guess that's all you can expect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for $30, that's really good. So that's probably the most as budget as you can get. It does come with an adapter, with a 1/4-inch adapter, if you're using a mixer, which we're going to talk about as well. All right, so a step up from that might be something like the SOKANI. Actually, no, we have the FIFINE.
These are all the weird Amazon
Yeah.
like generic brand names that we're covering here.
So this one is the body pack. This is something that a lot of instructors are used to wearing just at the studio, right, with their PA system. It has the little battery pack that you actually have to put on your body. And this is good for activity that isn't as vigorous, right? So if you're doing if you're like jumping up and down, you probably want something completely wireless. But this is also a good option. And it comes with the lav mic, and it also comes with the headset as well. For about 55 bucks, that's what you get. Okay, so for a medium budget, we have these compact little bricks, as I call them. George, this was a find for me. I didn't know this existed. This is basically your kind of your Sennheiser, probably not as great, but it's in a little kind of matchbox shape. So you would clip one of them onto your body like this. That's just going to be here. And the other one is the receiver that you can plug directly into your camera. You can route your sound through the camera or into a mixer, or even sometimes directly into the computer using a 3.5mm jack.
Wow, that's cool. I've never heard of those.
Yeah.
I even before this show, I was looking at your docs going like, oh, can't wait to hear about these SOKANI Tinys.
I know, they're really
cool. Only so I
cool.
could say SOKANI Tiny over and over again.
It's a cute name. And so they use ultra high frequency to transmit sound. There are other options, for example, like the SARAMONIC Blink, very similar, but it uses 2.4 gigahertz, and it's more expensive. So it's around $200. So these are.
Please go ahead.
On the slide there, those are the budget options. The option that we didn't include on the slide is something, like your Sennheiser, like your $500 Sennheiser, or Shure, this whole kind of receiver microphone system. If you really want to invest in that, if you have a PA system that you want to use, that's something you might think about. But for just your regular Zoom/YouTube streaming, that's probably going to be overkill.
And I guess the general emphasis is you have to have some kind of mic source that's close to your mouth. If you try and use anything like maybe you have a camera that has this nice little shotgun mic that sits atop your camera, unless you're doing an exercise that's really, really close to the lens of your camera and it's like eyebrow exercises or something like that, it's just going to you're not going to be heard. It's going to be tinny and a bad sound for those people watching. You want to have a great audio experience. So some kind of remote solution, like a body pack, like Marta said, or I really like you having that headset on, because it means when I see you with that headset, Marta, I know you're going to have good audio because it's really close to your audio source. Even me, I have these AirPods in right now, and because the audio is up near my ear, the audio is going to be okay. It's not going to be nearly as good as if it was right in front of my face. So if you're okay with the way it looks to have that little headset thing, that's certainly the way I like to go. I would like to go in my fantasy life as a fitness instructor.
So George, you're just using AirPods right now, right? Is that what you're doing?
That's right. Yeah, and it limits me to only working with like a computer-based setup for streaming. So if I was using any kind of hardware appliance for streaming, Bluetooth doesn't play as nicely with the professional gear, and so.
Well, I gotta say, this is really convenient. I'm really liking this. This is just something I found at the office. Maybe I can keep it. I don't know.
Cool. Looks pro.
Don't tell Phil. But yeah, this is really cool. I can move around and I can walk around and do exercise. That's awesome. So as you mentioned, George, probably don't use your computer internal microphone, right? Because it's so far away. And once I'm over there, the computer's over here, it's not going to sound great. So something like this is really useful. And then also mind the audio connector type, right? So there are different audio connector types. When you're choosing one, if you're planning to use it with your computer only, then you're probably looking for a 3.5mm jack. If you're using a mixer that we're going to get into next, then you're probably looking for a 1/4-inch jack. Yeah, and also, as I mentioned, you can also route your audio through your camera. So if your camera has an XLR out, amazing. You can probably use a bit more advanced microphone. If it has a 3.5 millimeter in for a microphone, you can also use that, and then use a capture card that we're also going to get into to bring your audio and your video in one go into your computer. All right, so audio mixers. Let's talk about it a little bit. So do you really need one? Well, so I'm using one right now. It is the Pyle USB mixer. There's the box, there's the picture, and it's really magical, you guys. It's really cool. So here's what happened to me. When I plugged this microphone directly into my computer, it was too quiet, and I just couldn't get it loud enough no matter how hard I tried. With this USB mixer, I was able to raise the volume so that you all can hear me, and it just provides much more control over the situation. It allows you to be able to hear music if you're a dance instructor. This is really useful if you're a dance instructor. If you have a pair of Bluetooth headphones, which I don't have right now, so I wasn't able to hear the music as we were doing that first part. But if I had a pair of Bluetooth headphones, then using this mixer, I would be able to hear the music that I am teaching to, which is, again, really beneficial for audio instructors, for dance instructors. And also, there's this little knob that allows you to change the volume of the music. So if you just want to instruct with your voice without the music, just come up, you turn it down, and you're done. So I think audio mixers are a great investment, and I actually highly recommend this Pyle one. It's only $70, and it provides so much control, you guys. And there's a really good video that I'm going to ask my moderators to throw into chat. Someone reviewed this mixer, and he talks about that dance instructor setup that I just talked about. How do you hear the music and have it playing on the stream and not use your external computer speakers? Because that's important for not creating loopback, or not, like, for good audio, basically. So check out that video. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think in general, you'll spend more time trying to figure out your audio setup than your video setup for any of these setups, because you need to hear what you need to hear. And anyway, it gets a bit complex.
For sure, it's really complex, and but again, that video solved all my problems, so definitely watch that one. Speaking of music, if you're playing music back in your stream, then make sure that it's not copyrighted music, because your live stream is going to get banned, especially on YouTube, very, very fast. So use something like Epidemic Sound. That's a website where you can get audio without copy, or how do you say that? Royalty free. Yes, exactly.
But I've heard of people even getting pulled down for their royalty-free music as well. The YouTube police force, who governs the copyrighted music, they go pretty hard, and we've heard a lot of stories from people using what they're sure is royalty-free music, and it still gets taken down. So it's touch and go on those platforms in general, Facebook and YouTube. But for sure, getting some royalty-free sets you up, so at least you can say you're innocent and you're doing the right thing too, because you don't really want to steal music from people.
All right, so also just a few quick notes. Having a confidence monitor really helps. So either connect an HDMI once, because you want to be able to see yourself, or you can look at the stream directly, but just remember that if it's YouTube, there's about a 20-second latency between real time and what you're going to be seeing. Also consider your space, right? So think about the background. Try to clear up my background as much as I could, make it look nice. Make sure there aren't any distractions. All the doors are locked, no one can come in. And also kind of know where you're going to be out of frame, right? So I kind of know that's going to be visible on the confidence monitor, obviously. But if you have a little marks on the floor, it's going to be very easy for you to understand how much space you're working with. Okay, so that's as far as kind of like the gear goes and space considerations. Let's get into the streaming setups, George. So how can we stream this? What are the kind of the ways that we have?
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are going to think right away to use a conferencing tool, like we're using a combination of it today, but using something like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and that's a great way to connect with people. It's certainly super easy as well, and you don't need a lot of extra additional gear and stuff to make that work. You're limited in terms of it's harder to do great numbers of people if you have if you're using Zoom or something like that. In which case you might want something more public. You might want to get onto the social networks where your audience may be already. So for that, that's why I guess we have that diagram up here too, showing what, I guess this would be the most basic setup we're looking at here today, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the software streaming setup. Basically,
Yeah.
we're going to have your sources come in. Sorry, George, you started. You explain.
Well, it's kind of what I'm doing today to speak to you, Marta. So I can even get it. Let's try and pick up my capture card without taking the stream down. So I actually have a capture card here hooked up to my camera. So it allows my computer to understand the data from my camera, and it basically sees it as a webcam. So it works with any kind of conferencing tools or with a live streaming application as well. So a capture card is a good investment, or a necessary investment, if you're planning on using a camera other than your built-in web camera or an external webcam.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So
and then like you said,
you can use something like OBS, right, or any other streaming software to go live to Facebook or YouTube. But then Zoom is separate. You can't really stream from OBS to Zoom, right? So using conferencing software, basically you're using the camera that you're bringing in using a capture card as a webcam, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and then the next slide is going to show my setup. I'm also streaming through Zoom, but I also have that USB mixer added in. It's very similar, exactly the same thing. I'm using the exact same capture card, which just happens to be an Epiphan capture card. And I'm using a USB mixer to bring in my sound and to have more control over it. Okay, and then we have the other thing you can do is you can use a hardware encoder like Pearl Mini. It simplifies the setup a little bit. There's our slide. So you no longer need a capture card for your camera. And it's really similar with the audio. What makes this much simpler is that you have a dedicated device for streaming. You don't have to overload your computer. You don't really even need to use your computer for the streaming part. The hardware encoder is going to do everything for you. You can connect more than one camera. If you want a 2-camera setup, going to look even cooler. And then you use something like the Pearl Mini to stream to Facebook, YouTube, or even both.
Yeah, I could see if you're a professional and maybe you run a studio on your own and you want to have a really great looking presentation, and you also want it to be really easy for your instructors to use, because some of these software setups, while they can be a bit more budget friendly, they're also much more difficult to operate. It's not to say they're inherently difficult, but they require a little bit of technical know-how. And if you want to avoid that for your instructors or for anybody who's setting up your stream, getting a hardware appliance allows you to kind of set it up for them, and then it's always just set up and ready to go. So we see Pearl Minis in yoga studios and fitness studios where they want just a dedicated device on the side where they don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm. For a home setup, it might be overkill. For a home setup, it might be better to do what we had on the previous slide, and you can actually stream right even from your browser, right? So YouTube allows in-browser streaming, so does Facebook. So you don't even have to have streaming software. It's just a more budget solution, and it's maybe a little bit simpler to get started with. But if you do have a studio and you want that reliability and simplicity, could think about investing into a hardware encoder like Pearl Mini.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I have here in big letters, test your internet speed. Have enough bandwidth. So we say this all the time. This is just really important to remember. If you're going to be streaming, you do want to test your connection, make sure you have enough bandwidth.
Yeah, I learned this the hard way yesterday while conducting a webinar, and I missed the middle third of the webinar while my internet took a nosedive. So there's nothing you can really do about the fluctuations in your network, but you can at least make sure you have a wired connection to your internet. Is going to help a lot. And if you are going to go on Wi-Fi, do whatever you can to get the best signal possible out of that. Because like I said, I've failed a few times in the last month in that. So hopefully
if you guys want to see that, go check out our webinar.
The epic fails, yeah.
no, it wasn't so bad. Matt did a great job covering for you, George.
So we do have a lot of comments here in the chat, Marta.
Oh, we do? Okay, tell me about them.
Well, we have Danny Grizzle giving tips about wireless frequency congestion being an issue. And if you're in a space with a lot of wireless equipment and you're trying to use a lav pack and a receiver setup, you can run into difficulties there. So in a home environment, it's less likely to be an issue, I'd imagine, but in a professional space, you could run into that. So it's something to be.
And as I was reading on Amazon yesterday, people like the SOKANI Tiny because it uses ultra high frequency, which as they say, there's not too many interruptions on that particular frequency.
Ooh, nifty. I wonder if that's real or not. Sounds kind of cool.
That's what Amazon said.
Yeah. Well, of course. Danny Grizzle is also pointing out that he's trying to get pointers for setting up his granddaughter's dance studio. They've struggled to virtualize. Like a lot of places, they're forced, I guess, to just get up quickly. And they talk about music. He talks about music rights being a huge issue. All their work gets deleted. So maybe you have to consider a different platform if that's the case. And there are platforms, I think, where maybe if you use something like Vimeo, you're going to have a better chance at not having copyrighted music being taken down, or some other specific dance social network that I don't know about.
Yeah, I saw some workout videos on Twitch yesterday. I was looking around, and there are actually people who do fitness on Twitch. And
You're totally right.
Twitch is a bit more lenient when it comes to copyrighted music. So far, they have been.
Yeah, they're pretty lenient on lots of things, and it's an easy platform to work with too. So by all means,
really
yeah.
Okay, any other comments that we have?
Another one from Danny Grizzle here, having a great tip for when you're talking to your ISP about getting improved bandwidth. He's suggesting don't ask for more bandwidth. He's saying ask for how much upstream bandwidth, because as we know with live streaming, you need a good amount of bandwidth up to the network. Download speed doesn't really matter. So that's an important detail if you are thinking about making sure that your home is well set up for live streaming.
That's a very good point. Yeah, thanks, Danny. It is all about the upload speed. Okay, and that was a great segue into streaming destinations, actually, the previous question that we had. So we can go, you can stream to YouTube, where there are some problems with music sometimes, so you have to be really careful. You can go to you can go live to Facebook Live as well. And these two platforms are really, they're the best for reaching maximum amount of people, right? You can make those streams private if you wanted to, but if they're public, more people are probably going to be able to discover them. As you mentioned, George, if you want something more private with more control, you should look at Vimeo Live. I know that Vimeo Live is really big right now in fitness streaming. They're really looking into that niche and trying to popularize their platform for it.
And you can add a paywall there as well. So if you're charging for these classes, which I'm expecting most places would be right now, you can easily set that up on Vimeo Live.
Yeah. I also mentioned Twitch as like the kind of the dark horse, the underdog. And George, you talked a little bit about Zoom as well, right? So you can also use Zoom to conduct your classes. This is probably for maximum privacy because you know exactly who is coming in. You have a lot of control over that.
Yeah, and my guess it's the most popular right now for smaller groups to quickly get online. And you don't have to worry about the music, but there's a few things you may not like about Zoom or any conferencing platform, in that you have less control over how your video looks. In some cases, it just could be of low quality, and also how it's presented, because the user can reconfigure the way it looks at their end. And so you just have a little bit less control there. And also playing music through Zoom can be tricky. There are solutions for it. We did a video about it. Was it last week? Boy, time flies. I think it might have been last week on this very show. We talked about how to do music and other audio things with Zoom. So there's some tricks there you can look into for bringing music into Zoom, because for the most part, Zoom is very good at handling your voice. In fact, it's very smart. But sometimes it's so smart, it will cancel out anything it doesn't think is your voice. So if you try and play music, it'll just drop it out entirely. But if you use software to bring, and you basically make a mix of your music and your voice into Zoom, you can make it work. So don't shy away from it, but just plan to invest a bit of time up front to understand how that works.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and also if you are using Zoom, you can't really bring things like graphic overlays, right? So if you want those bells and whistles, if you want the countdown clocks, if you want like a list of exercises, then with Zoom, that's going to be a huge challenge to do. So we want to show you a few ways, or talk to you about a few ways that you can add those overlays. So I'm going to ask our producer to bring up an overlay that we had prepared for this. So if you want to have the list of exercises, right, like that, right next to your stream, and so you're going to be able to see what we're doing, what you need to be doing. So so the way we're doing this right now is using a PNG. Yeah, just do all the exercises, George. I'll
okay. Here. I'm gonna get close enough I can read them now.
It might be hard. This is a PNG that we're overlaying in Pearl right now. We're producing the show using Pearl 2. But you can also do it using NDI. We have that logo on the bottom, Total Body by Epiphan. That is also a PNG. So this is a hardware method. You can do the same thing in streaming software. If you're using in-browser streaming, that might be a challenge as well. There's not really a good way to do that. But using streaming software and streaming hardware, you can bring in additional overlays. I don't know if we have that countdown available right now, but you can also add a countdown clock. If you're doing something like, there it is. If you're doing something like, CrossFit, where you have to time the intervals, you can use that and make that available for everyone. And yeah, I think that's about all. Do we have any questions, George? I know you're eager to do some exercise, but
yeah, I'm going to stand up for a change.
And
yeah, sure.
telling me if you have any questions.
Sure. Lots of people having a good discussion here about wireless spectrums and wireless mics, which is great. Kim Sorensen's asking, what specifications does a Pearl 2 have? That's a big question, Kim. There's a lot Pearl 2 does. It's a multifaceted device, so I'll see if I can read the rest of your question. And will a software solution example, Wirecast on a Mac Pro, be able to do the same thing as Pearl in performance? So your basically question is, what's the difference between using something like Wirecast or using a Pearl system? And you can do an awful lot with Wirecast. You can do a lot of graphics and overlays and such, and you may enjoy that environment. I do. I've used a lot of software, vMix, and they're really powerful. And I've used Pearl a lot as well. And the difference kind of comes down to, if you're looking for simplicity and reliability, you might like a hardware encoder experience, because you can kind of set it up and know it's going to work and not have too many points of failure. Software, on the other hand, is also very powerful. It can do a lot, but you might notice your system, your computer that's running it, has a hard time running it, because as you get complexity with it, especially if it's a Windows computer, it's going to have issues, and you might have updates happening in the middle of your live stream. So we have a lot of customers who come to us and they start doing software streaming, but then they decide it's just not reliable for them, or there's complexity to it that they just don't enjoy. So then they move over to a Pearl 2 system. So that's kind of my take on how to see those two.
And if you want to learn more about the Pearl systems, we do have a page for that. I think it's epiphan.com/product/Pearl2. And I'm going to ask our moderators to throw that link into chat, actually, the Pearl.
I think they've already beat you to it, actually.
Oh, wonderful. Fantastic. Yeah, if you want to learn more, definitely check that out. And awesome. So George, we've gone for 40 minutes now. I think we should maybe wrap this up.
Yeah, that time went by quickly. So thank you, Marta. I enjoyed getting a little bit of a workout at the beginning of this class. And I think we should do all of our live shows standing up from now on. That's my new goal. a standing up live stream setup, so I can move around a little bit and feel a bit more free.
Well,
I still need to get close to my computer. So
why don't we finish this episode with also standing up, because that's awesome. And I'm hoping that our producer can turn on our music for us and we can finish our episode like that. And we're going to thank everyone for watching, and tune in next week for another Live at Epiphan episode. It's going to be about chroma keying. If you want to know all about that green screen, how to make it look good, how it works with Pearl, then tune in next week. But for now, George, what do you got? What are we going to exit on? Oh, we're just going to stretch. We've been sitting for too long. All right. Take care, everyone.
And work it, and work it, and work it, and work it.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, no, 3 more minutes of working out. You guys have to keep working it out. Work out and work it. Yeah, there you go.